Hi, this is Vicki of Green-Eyed Lady Designs, and I'd like to talk to you today about using layer masks in Photoshop Elements. Here is a layout that I posted recently using my new Color Play 2 A Matter of Time kit, and someone asked how I made it appear as if this photo and the tag frame behind it were just partially sticking through these brush frames that are on top, and that's what I wanted to show you today. Now you might ask why I just don't use the eraser to erase the portions of the frame that I don't want to see, and that's true, I could do that. I'm going to choose my eraser tool here and then just erase. But the problem with that is I really am erasing those pixels, and when they're gone, well, except for undo. Let's say I go too far. I could always Control Z or Command Z to undo and start over again. That certainly would work. But let's say that I have erased these pixels here. And let's say later on during the process of working my layout, I decide that I really do need to change the angle of this frame. Well, you can see when I try to change the angle of the frame, those pixels aren't there anymore. So I'd need to go back to my stash to grab another copy of that frame and start all over again. What I'm really looking for is more flexibility, and that's where the power of layer masks really come into play. So let's work through that. Now, if you're using Photoshop Elements 9 or 10, Adobe built-in functionality that allows you to apply a layer mask directly to an element, and I'll show you that when we're done here. But for those of you using Photoshop Elements, 8 and earlier, we actually have to fool Photoshop into thinking that we have a layer mask, and we do that by adding what's called an adjustment layer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to target the layer below my frame. You always want to be in a layer below the element that you want to mask. And once I've done that, I'm going to go to the bottom of the layers panel here, and I'm going to choose this little round circle here that's half black and white. If you hover over it properly or just perfectly, you'll see it says create a new fill or adjustment layer. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to click on that, and from the pop-up here I'm going to choose levels. Now some of you, depending on what version of Elements you're using, may get a dialog box, and I want you just to click OK on that. We're not going to make any changes to the levels. We just want to borrow the layer mask that's there. Some of you may see this adjustment panel show up here, and again, we don't need that. I'm going to close it because really we just care about the layer mask that we got. The part of this here that's the mask is this white box here. That's the actual layer mask. What you see here on the left may differ a little bit depending on what version of Elements you're using. Some versions you might see a little graph, some will see these gears, but the important part is that you have this white box here. That's the mask that we're going to use. The next thing we need to do is tell Elements that we want this mask to work with this frame. So we're going to create a clipping mask. We're going to click on the frame, and then from the menu we're going to choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask. And we know that the clipping mask has been created because we can see that the frame is slightly indented, and then there's this down arrow pointing towards the mask. For those of you who are keyboard shortcut fanatics, as I am, we can actually accomplish this from the keyboard. I'm going to undo this, and then clicking on the frame, I'm going to hold down the Alt key. Now this is the same on a Mac and a PC, I believe. Hold down the Alt key, and then hover your mouse between the two layers of the frame and the mask. And when the cursor changes to that funny looking thing here, just click down, and that will create your clipping mask. Okay, so now we're ready to start masking. We have to target the layer mask to work on that, so click right on the white box, and you know that you've selected that because you see the little white borders at the top and the bottom. That means your layer mask is selected, and we need to choose our brush. So I'm going to choose B from my keyboard, or you can choose the brush tool from your brush toolbar, and then I'm going to choose a hard round brush Now, if you don't see the same brushes that I'm looking at here, these are just default brushes from Photoshop. So click the down arrow that's next to whatever list you happen to be showing and just choose basic brushes. This list will be different for you depending on what brushes you've got loaded into Elements, but choose the basic brushes. And then I'm going to choose the hard round 60 pixel brush here. And I actually want that to be a little larger. So I'm going to use my right bracket key to increase that size to, let's say, 175. Yeah, that'll work. You can use the left and right bracket keys to change the size of your brushes, or you can just change it up here in the brush options bar. The next thing that we want to do is make sure that we have the right colors in our color pickers. So we're going to press the D key on your keyboard to switch to the default colors, and we want the black color to be foreground. So if yours came up white as mine did, just press the X on your keyboard, and that will swap the position of the color chips. So I have black as my foreground color, I have my brush tool selected, and I have targeted the layer mask over here in the layers panel. Now I can start brushing over, painting over with black on top of this frame, but on the mask itself. And you can see what Photoshop is doing is it's actually hiding those pixels of the frame. You can tell that I'm hiding them because over here in my layers panel, see that black line here? That shows you that's the black that I was using to paint. So I've just hidden the pixels of the frame in my layer mask. But as you can see here, I've gone too far. What do? Well, if painting with black hides the pixels, then painting with white will reveal those pixels again. So I am going to hit the X key on my keyboard. That's going to swap the position of my colors over here, color swatches. Now I've got white as my foreground color. I'm still targeted over here on my mask, and now I'm going to paint back in those pixels that I accidentally painted out with black. Now, isn't that cool? Isn't your mind just reeling with all the possibilities now? I'm going to undo because I want to put those brush strokes all back here, back to my frame. And I wanted to show you another way that you can actually delete these pixels. One more time should do it, I think. Boy, we're having a little brain fart here. My computer's really slow. Okay, there, it's back. One of the tricks that I've learned in using layer masks is that you can help make sure that you're only painting over the pixels that you want to paint over by doing this little trick. I'm going to hold down the Command key, or if you're on a PC, you're going to hold down the Control key, and I'm going to click on the thumbnail of my picture layer. And that gives me the marching ants around my picture. You can see the marching ants here. And if you remember, the marching ants constrain your work in Photoshop. Photoshop will only do your next steps within the confines of these marching ants. So once again, with my mask targeted, my mask now, not the picture, but the mask, I'm going to come back over, and I'm going to paint over. I want to make sure, by the way, that my color chip is black here. I had changed it when we were revealing the pixels. I need it to be black here so that we can hide the pixels. And now I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to paint over these pixels. But watch what happens if I try to paint outside the constraints of these marching ants. Photoshop won't let me do that. Watch this. As my computer catches up. No matter what I do, I can't paint over these pixels because I'm constrained by the marching ants. So let's Command or Control D to deselect the marching ants here. That's a good tip for you to remember when you are using layer masks, that you can use the marching ants to help constrain where you're actually painting. So hopefully your mind is reeling now with the possibilities. This layer mask is what designers use when they are, say, trying to wrap a vine around a frame or around a twig or something when they're trying to create clusters. So once you start thinking about it, you'll realize there's lots of uses for this. Now let me show you how to do this if you're using Photoshop Elements 9 or 10. It's actually much easier. Let's hide these layers right now, and I have another copy of the frame right here. In Photoshop Elements 9 and 10, they built the functionality right into Photoshop Elements. So if you come down here, we've got the frame layer targeted. If you come down to the bottom of the layers palette, you'll see right to the left of the adjustment layer there's this little square with a circle in it, and if you hover just right, it'll show you that that's going to let you add a layer mask, and that's what we want to do. So click on the add to layer mask, and what you see here is Photoshop has attached a layer mask right to the frame itself. We didn't have to do all this work around here of adding the levels adjustment and then creating a clipping mask between the frame and the layers adjustment in order to use the mask. Photoshop has done that for you in one easy step. So that's one really good reason. There are lots of others, but that's one good reason to upgrade to the newest version of Elements when you can, when your pocketbook lets you do that. One little warning though about using this layer mask. You want to make sure that you're actually targeted right on the white square. And remember I said you could tell that you're targeted there because you see these little white borders. And that's really important because if you're accidentally on the frame itself, when you go to paint, watch what happens. I got my brush tool, I've got black. Watch what happens when I paint. I'm actually painting black on that layer instead of using the black to hide the pixels. So if that ever happens to you and you can't figure out what happens, it just means you didn't have the layer mask targeted. Do a Control or Command Z to undo, maybe more than once there. Any minute now. Okay, and now just come back and click on that layer mask, get that little black, white border at the top and the bottom, and you know that you're free to go ahead now and hide the pixels of your element. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you've learned something. If you have any more questions or there's something else you'd like me to do a tutorial about, I'd be happy to do that. Just leave me a comment on the blog. Thanks very much, and this is Vicki of Green Eyed Lady Designs.